Hey guys, so where our driveway comes in from the street, it splits in two, and in the center is a little island of bamboo, which is very full of beans and spreads all over the place really quickly. The roots will actually go under the concrete and pop up wherever they can, or they'll actually crawl across the top of the concrete looking for somewhere to go. And as the roots travel, they shoot up those little bamboo stalks, so it spreads. So forever cutting it back. So the unskilled gardener was sitting there recently, trimming it back and cutting the roots and getting it back to where it's supposed to be. And then while I was doing that, I recalled that at the home centre there was a big pile of plastic pieces that were sitting near to where the register was last time I was there. And I'd noticed them and I thought, oh, that must be what the market gardeners or the farmers use for organising their gardens, and didn't pay a lot of attention. Noticed they were pretty cheap, but sort of stored away in the back of the old brain somewhere, these things. So while I was digging this stuff, I was thinking maybe it's worth digging it and putting some of that black material along here, some sort of black PVC. I'll show you shortly. And so it's one of those jobs that was supposed to just be an afternoon, before going to work, right? And digging this little trench, and then, well, if we're going to be digging a little trench, let's put something in there, because with the other bamboo on the other side of the garden, we'd actually put a little barrier in out of just old material, plastic material we had lying around, and it worked really well. That was a few years ago, next to the tucky trees, and we've had no intrusion at all. Mucky, not tucky, mucky trees. So they're the roots we've been getting out. We've got 5 bags of those roots. So off to the home centre for some insultanto concreto, right? So some bags of instant concrete. And these things, so I'd noticed them but not paid close attention. And what I hadn't noticed is they've got these little slots in them. So they slot together. I didn't know that. So that was a real bonus. Like, oh, that's a good thing. And it's fairly thick, serious PVC that's made specifically for this sort of thing. And it's cheap, 328 yen, so it's about $3 a piece for 120 centimetres. So we needed 9 of them. So it did add up a little bit, but the thinking is, if we do this thing properly, then there'll be less fighting of the bamboo. No doubt it'll still manage to sneak a root underneath or over the top or something now and again, but it's going to be much easier to get it under control with this work done. So what was going to be a couple of hours one afternoon out in the garden turned out to be 7 days, and each day it was either before work or after work, or between. One day it was between 2 bits of work, and total time, I don't know, who knows, probably best not to think about it. 30, 40 hours, something like that. It was really hard work. The top few centimetres were stone, so when you hit them with a shovel or something, it just went right through the body. And then it was the roots, which were really serious, and then got down underneath that. So the best way, tried a whole heap of different tools. The best way was just to sit there and just hammer it with the shovel, and it worked, but it was just really hard work. So poor old unskilled gardener every night was head to toe all sorts of discomfort. Keep in mind too, the reason he's sitting down is that small toe on the right foot's actually broken, so it wasn't easy. But it went reasonably smoothly. Just required a lot of work. Usually jobs like that are like that. They're not, it's not rocket science, but it's just labour. Unskilled labour is what's required. So that concrete there is pretty dodgy, isn't it? Over the last 100 years, people have added different pieces of concrete to that strip there. It's sort of all over the place. But we have to keep in mind, with the old house, any money we put into the house is thrown away, because eventually, probably one day we'll sell the house and move somewhere else. And when that happens, any improvements we made will only be deducted from the value of the place. That's the way they see everything. Everything that you put into the place is just something that they've got to throw away. So they'll look at the old house, the value of the land, and then they'll work out how much it costs to destroy everything that we've got there, and that'll be what the place is worth. So it's all a liability, so it's not adding value. So the justification was that it's a practical thing, that for the next few years, instead of having to spend so much time cutting roots and pulling out bamboo, that this will keep it more tidy, keep it more under control. So that's just sort of, it seemed that the stuff's sort of, to keep it all straight, stuck a few stones in. Oh, it's a water pipe. That's the main water supply from the street, and that's before it reaches our tap, which means if we'd cut that, there wouldn't have been any way to turn it off. We would have had to call the city and get them to come and turn off the fountain. So mixing up some concrete by hand. Started with 3 bags, ended up using 7 because the job got ridiculous. It was supposed to just be one side, and then, oh, we might as well go all the way around. So ended up with 7 bags of concrete, mixing by hand, and how many pieces of sheet? Was it 9 of that plastic stuff? 120 centimetres by 30 centimetres it was. So good stuff. Happy with that stuff. So it's not too hot yet. Summer hasn't really hit yet, so it's been like 27 degrees, 28 degrees, which was good. The concrete didn't set too fast. Had a bit of time to sort of make it reasonably smooth. So again, 100 years of people adding concrete to this driveway. Here's another piece of concrete. It's a real patchwork, but it works. I'll throw it in there, smooth it over. So, got to this point. Okay, look, we've done this side. That side didn't need concreting because it's just stones and gravel there. But from here where we meet the concrete, okay, we need to put concrete there. So from here we did the concreting. Little block there just to stop the concrete till it sets. Around the corner here and up to the end. Now, at the front, it's very rocky because at the front there's the septic tank underneath. So from here where that little barrier stops, towards the street is a septic tank, and so it's covered with stones. So as a result, the bamboo doesn't really like to go there anyway. So it wasn't really justified. As mentioned previously, any money we put into this, time and money we put into this, is just going to be thrown away eventually. So there's absolutely no practical reason to continue it right to the front. So that's okay. Enough of that. No more of that digging roots. We won't go to the. Okay, we will. 24 hours later, what bothered me about it was I didn't want to do any more of it because it was a hell of a job, and I didn't want to continue it to the front, and it wasn't justified, and it's throwing away money, and there's no real need for it. It was purely aesthetic, right? Because there's not that many roots just there anyway, and that's just about all stony gravel there. So it's just hard. It's been there forever, and it's really hard, and did not want to do it at all. But the problem was, this is the direction we come into the house from. So every time I drove into the house, I was going to be looking at that. And it definitely looked like an unfinished job, didn't it? Right. So I lasted 24 hours. I went inside and said, I'm not going to make it all the way to the front. No need. It doesn't make sense. It's not practical, not logical. But 24 hours later, I was out there digging stones. And this is all sped up 12 times normal speed, right? And you're also missing out on huge bits of boring stuff that's more boring than this. So what you see on 1 minute of video is about 4 hours, probably. So it's just like, oh, all right, okay, I've got to do it. So I got to here, and then we need a tricky bit to go around the corner, and then up where that pot is on the left, it's sitting on top of like a access cover, and there's a big pipe there. So can't dig a trench deep enough there. Have to sort of cut the black thing so it goes over the top of it. I could not believe it. I could not believe I was back there doing it 24 hours after I said I wasn't going to do any more. No, that's enough of that nonsense. Back to the home centre for a few more of those sheets, for 4 more of those sheets, and another couple of bags of concrete back there for a few more blisters. Nah. So, ridiculous. Absolutely no practical, logical reason, but you can see the difference. It would have bothered me every time I drove in. I would have looked at it, this unfinished job. So it had to be done, unfortunately. So I sort of threw away a little bit more money, incurred a few more blisters and a few more aches and pains on the old bod. One thing worse than an unskilled gardener, and that's a really, really old, fat, unskilled gardener sitting there like Buddha. The sitting down's the only way to go with a job like this, you know. The old, fat, old gardener, it's the only way to go, sitting down like that. You can definitely endure a lot more when you're sitting down. So anyway, let's have a little bit of before and after. That's what it looked like before. Yes, 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 it was horrible. Just impractical. It was forever coming across, and the little bits of stone would come out of there too, and it was just always a mess. And that's what it looks like today. So put another tree that was around the back of the house, put that there to mark it, because the other concern was that we have some very unskilled drivers that come and go from our driveway, and we're a bit worried that someone might actually collect that front part. So put another little tree there. That's another mucky tree that was actually in a pot round the back of the house. I brought that round and stuck that in that corner so that anybody driving in or out is going to see the plant. They won't see the black thing, but they'll see the plant, won't they, sticking up like that. So that's the idea. It also, the most important thing with this island thing is it gives us privacy, some more privacy from the street. So we've got a number of things that we use for our privacy from the street, and that little island plays a fairly major role in that, as you can see. So there's our marquee trees, guys, that we planted a couple of years ago. They're coming up. So as they get bigger, it'll give us more privacy there. So anyway, that was the island project. More videos coming soon.